Flu 2013 movie synopsis by Zillur Movies recapped. Brothers Ju Byung-woo and Ju Byung-ki are smugglers in Seoul who discover that unlawful immigrants have died in a delivery container from an unknown sickness. They take Seoul survivor Monse and cell phone video of the bodies to indicate their boss in Bundang. However, Byung-woo turns into sick and Monse escapes. The brothers go to a clinic. The place the contagion is handed on to others who unfold it all through town. On the contagion middle in Bundang, Dr. Kim In-hae is reprimanded for dropping necessary information when her automotive fell down a mine shaft the day before today. Her bag is retrieved from the shaft by ERT members Oh Ji-gu and Bae Kyung-ub. Ji-gu solutions her telephone and delivers the bag to In-hae's daughter Mireu. Byung-woo's situation worsens and he begins vomiting blood. His brother takes him to an emergency room, the place he's remoted with an unknown flu. Referred to as in to assist, In-hae finds the cell phone video and theorizes that situations within the delivery container allowed the virus to mutate. Byung-ki refuses to reply questions in regards to the container. Byung-woo dies, and Byung-ki exposes a number of the hospital employees whereas struggling to get to his brother. The following day, many extra individuals present pronounced signs. With assist from the KCDC, the hospital employees find and incinerate the delivery container. Nevertheless, rats that had been feeding on the corpses escape into town. The employees decide that the aggressive virus is a mutated H5N1 pressure that may kill inside 36 hours, and name to quarantine town. Monse saves Mireu from being struck by a automotive. He then avoids her, conscious that he's spreading the sickness. Mireu calls Ji-gu to assist seek for the sick man, however they don't have any success. Rumors of the outbreak unfold and other people start to panic. Ji-gu saves a girl who falls from an escalator, and loses sight of Mireu. Whereas disparaging the necessity for a quarantine, directors and politicians are confronted with a catastrophic scenario as individuals collapse on the street, together with drivers who trigger a sequence of violent crashes. Hospitals and communications programs turn into overwhelmed, and the quarantine is initiated. Politicians and analysis employees evacuate to Seoul and transient the Prime Minister, who makes a public announcement that worsens the panic in Bundang. In-hae stays in Bundang and joins Ji-gu to seek for Mireu. They discover her in a grocery store which is being looted, with individuals exhibiting signs whereas riot police attempt to comprise them. The three handle to get out earlier than metal shutters come down. In-hae will get them passage to Seoul, however Ji-gu refuses to desert his duties and works with Kyung-ub to free these trapped within the retailer. In-hae and Mireu attain the final helicopter for Seoul, however Mireu exhibits signs and they're denied passage. At nighttime, the Bundang quarantine is bolstered by the Republic of Korea military, reserve forces, United States Forces Korea, United States Air Power and the KCDC. The inhabitants is moved to a camp outdoors. The Tanshan sports activities advanced. These displaying signs are additional remoted in an contaminated quarantine zone, IQZ, beneath the stadium to obtain medical therapy, although In-hae is aware of they don't have any remedy. She slips Mireu via the examinations to cover her sickness and retains Mireu's masks on in order that she will not infect others. On the second day, Monse is discovered within the isolation zone. In-hae's proposal to immediately inject his antibodies right into a affected person is overruled. However, she secretly begins a transfusion to Mireu, whose situation has worsened. Later, Mireu's situation is uncovered and she or he is shipped to the IQZ. There may be unease within the camp resulting from a communications blackout, troublesome dwelling situations, confrontations with gas mask-wearing guards, sporadic gunfire meant to maintain birds from spreading the illness, and rumors that contaminated persons are being killed. Strain from Leo Snyder of the WHO and politicians pressure the president to interrupt a promise to launch the uninfected after 48 hours, and fights escape. When an contaminated soldier is fatally shot by an officer, a mob turns into enraged and storms the IQZ. They see Ji-gu rescuing Mireu from a pile of bodies which can be being burned, and imagine the contaminated are being burned alive. In-hae and the medical employees flee the mob. However, Byung-ki kills Monse in a suicidal assault to avenge his brother's dying. Mireu begins to recuperate, and Ji-gu takes her in the direction of the freeway to fulfill In-hae. Nevertheless, Guk-won, an contaminated man who has been inciting unrest, leads the armed mob towards the freeway. Studying that Mireu has antibodies, Guk-won shoots at Ji-gu, leading to a lethal gun battle between the mob and the troopers. Ji-gu hides Mireu, who makes a full restoration. Guk-won tries to present himself a transfusion of her blood, however is found and killed in a battle with Kyung-ub. Mireu flees and is pushed to the entrance of the mob, which is confronting troopers on the freeway. In-hae is shot whereas making an attempt to forestall Mireu from crossing the containment line. Mireu shields her mom and pleads for them to cease, then the mob shields Mireu. The president orders the troopers to face down, and forces Snyder to cancel an airstrike. Mireu is shipped to Seoul to create a vaccine whereas medical groups are dispatched to Bundang. Flu, Korean. RR. Gamgi. Alternatively titled The Flu, is a 2013 South Korean catastrophe movie written and directed by Kim Sung-soo, about an outbreak of a lethal pressure of H5N1 that kills its victims inside 36 hours, throwing the district of Bundang in Sungnam, which has inhabitants of practically half 1 million individuals, into chaos. It stars Jang Hyuk, Soo-ae and Ma Dong-seok. I've at all times loved Asian films, and Korea actually do handle to launch some actually spectacular titles sometimes. I hadn't actually anticipated something specifically from The Flu, Gamgi, and I used to be blown away by the depth and gripping storyline that director Sung-soo Kim managed to current right here. The Place as Outbreak, from 1995 was nice and the more modern, Contagion, from 2011 did not impress, then, The Flu, steps proper up right here and proves that Korea could be a pressure to be reckoned with by way of pandemic and epidemic outbreak films. And in my sincere opinion, then, The Flu, surpassed Outbreak, by far and turned out to be a way more fulfilling film altogether. The story begins off in Hong Kong, the place a bunch of persons are illegally transported to Korea hidden in a container. Amidst the hopeful unlawful immigrants is a sick particular person. Upon arrival in Korea and when the container is opened, a ghastly discovery is made because the individuals inside are all lifeless. A brand new and excessive contagious and lethal virus manages to unfold like a wildfire, rapidly bringing an entire metropolis to its knees, forcing the Korean authorities to isolate and quarantine the inhabitants. Unable to discover a remedy to this lethal sickness, time is working out and tensions inside the quarantine zone are working excessive. Truly there are numerous extra layers to the storyline, however that's as in total complete the define of the principal storyline. This isn't solely a film a few pandemic outbreak, but in addition in regards to the disaster of such an outbreak on governmental degree, citizen degree and household degree. And it really works out so properly, as a result of the directed actually is expert at what he's doing. The film is working excessive on rigidity and drama, which is kind of good, and it helps the film to my ntain an awesome tempo, and also you get hooked up to the characters within the film and wish to see what occurs subsequent. A film is nothing with no good solid, and The Flu actually had some good abilities on the solid record. Soo-ae, enjoying Kim In-hae, mom of Kim Mireu, actually stuffed out her position amazingly and placed on a quite spectacular efficiency. And proper up there alongside her was Hyuk Jang, enjoying rescue employee Kong Ji-koo, with an equally convincing efficiency. And so they had actually nice on-screen chemistry. Nevertheless, I used to be particularly impressed with younger Min-ah Parks, enjoying Kim Mireu, efficiency. For a kid actress, then she was superb in her position. There's a sense of grand scale on the film, as you do purchase into the seriousness of this outbreak that brings a complete metropolis to its knees and threatens to brush out to the remainder of Korea. And there are numerous outdoor scenes within the metropolis that actually add to this. And I'll say that the camera work and cinematography in The Flu was proper on all through the film. The Flu is the kind of film that it's important to watch, no matter whether or not you want Korean films or films of this explicit style. It's altogether an awesome and excessive entertaining film. This film is absurd. When you get pleasure from your cinematic publicity remedy throughout a real-world pandemic to be way over the top, then, Gamgee, could also be for you. It is always teetering on the verge of annoying 1 second and hysterical at nearly the identical moments. A catastrophe flick about some variation of avian influenza leading to an epidemic in Bundang, South Korea. The script throws each worst-case scenario cliché on the wall. And the image is so splendidly atrocious in its modifying that all of it appears to escalate at a ridiculous clip. Plus, there's one thing of a rom-com, together with a silly meet-cute and the girl's lovely but irksome daughter, for whom the adults at all times discover a cause to go away alone for a second in order that they find yourself having to enter a panic working after her. At one level, at the very least in line with the English subtitles, the male hero refers back to the epidemic because the loopy flu, which appears apartment for a virus that works lots like zombies in its speedy fee of an infection and fatality, and for which the federal government and public response makes that of a George A. Romero movie, e.g., The Crazies, 1973, look nearly measured by comparability. In loads of ways. All the working round, all the pieces escalating in a short time, together with the seek for a cure. It's much like the identical 12 Months' World Warfare Z, 2013. Or anticipates, Prepare to Busan, 2016, together with each starring Ma Dong-seok in a supporting position. 1 second. Authorities officers are scoffing at Doc's elevating alarm of a coming epidemic. The following they're all searching the window as a site visitors pile up and an explosion of a constructing ensuing from individuals instantly keeling over from the illness whereas driving. The native hospital goes from affected person zero to an apocalyptic morgue. Doc's vomiting blood within the aisles in a matter of minutes. And all of that appears sensible in comparison with the swiftness of the federal government response and the domineering oversight of American forces. The makeshift quarantine zones, mass graves and antibody therapy are achieved within the blink of an eye fixed. Probably the most miserable factor within the film, although, is the compliments America and the CDC obtain for supposedly being the most effective on the earth at pandemic containment. It turns into fairly the sick joke to see this 7 years later. Regardless that response tends to be malicious within the film, it is too beneficent to the federal government's capabilities. Additionally, the sporting of masks and respirators by characters co-uld be very inconsistent, as they typically pull them off for emphasis whereas mere inches away from others. However, why nitpick? All the pieces in Gamgee is absurdly intensified. The place everybody started to like okay movies I'm repelling away. Yeah, it's the very fact taking place to me for the previous few okay movies I noticed. I'm kinda light with these. The explanation behind is overdone sentiments with a 8-12 months outdated lady character in all the films. It is turned into a traditional routine for the Korean filmmakers to make use of little lady character and on the finish a few touching traces delivered by them. Imagine me it occurred to me throughout, Miracle in Cell No 7 feet as effectively. I'm a tearjerker film fan. Remarking my favorite theme film in darkish shades is unlucky. This film was additionally had such kinda position. Beside the little lady 2 different characters had a distinguished half. Korean films are kinda in style amongst film goers. So the tales as effectively of their films improved lots which supplies worldwide enchantment. Like, this story which tells about a virus or known as fowl flu that not too long ago shaken the world. The story was okay, however the characters had been utilized very effectively. And one other spotlight of the film was the just about flawless graphics. Like I mentioned, the film was thrilling and fulfilling as a collaboration of journey and science fiction till the melodrama strikes on the finish. I discovered it kinda sensible, the individual's response through the epidemic prevalence. Even neatly instructed how the political works throughout these instances. Particularly the vocal battle between Korean and American officers actually heats up the momentum. It's a good film in case you are searching for a pre-apocalypse theme. I'm glad it was a single film. Within the West for a similar story they are going to drag right into a trilogy like World Warfare Z. Introduction and initiating theme within the first. Escaping and surviving within the second and grand answer within the third. This okay movie had all these in right here itself and nothing left for a sequel. however nonetheless might be dragged right into a sequel in several facets of the story that proceed from right hereafter. Lastly, I conclude by saying, the stuffs that occurred on this film will have an effect on your life, in a humorous method, while you see an individual round you who coughs.